Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frankie Stan Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Brad Gilmore.
What's up, movie trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official after show for the movie trivia Schmoedown. My name is Brad Gilmore. I am joined, as always, with my trusty sidekick, the next host of the Academy Awards, Frank Janisch.
The next Academy Award, I better delete some tweets. Oh, boy.
Yes, delete away, young sir. Delete away. And then just delete your whole Facebook. Just delete the whole thing.
Delete
just
everything.
Put it on private.
I'm going to call up some like web sweeper, basically, and just tell them to erase me from the internet. Does that exist? Is that a thing?
I think it is a thing. I think you remember that movie with, I think it was with Lucy Liu, Nicolette Sheridan, and Cedric the Entertainer called Codename the Cleaner?
I think maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I think that's probably right, because
it was something like that. It was something like that. Lucy Liu, a Hall of Famer. We have a lot of great things to talk about on the show this week. We had two huge matches. You had the collision of the Fife Club between Clarke Wolfe and Marc Andreyko, and of course you had a dream match. Between Ethan Erwin and Dan Murrell. Did it live up to expectations? Who's going forward? Who's one step closer to New York? We're going to break it all down on the show today.
It was just a dream. Just a dream.
It was all good just a week ago.
Oh, it really was for Dan.
And we're going to break it down. Let's talk some news here, Frank. Chris Clarke is out on assignment. He's getting things ready for New York City, New York. Coming up for the opening of the season, which the tickets are sold out. Christian, you're welcome. Thanks to Frank and I. They sold out before our episode even came out. Word leaked from the episode that it was going to sell out, and it sold out. So congratulations to us. But MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is always a fan favorite. And just this week, we've had two huge trailers drop for Captain Marvel and then Avengers Endgame. A.k.a. Avengers 4.
You're probably listening or watching this, Spider-Man Far From Home, that trailer should have dropped by now.
Look at that. It's just a Thanksgiving weekend. It's not even Thanksgiving. Christmas Day miracle. But we love these movies. There's like 20 of them now. There's a lot of Marvel.
78 last I checked.
78, yeah. And that's just what's going to come out next year.
Right.
So the MCU is a fan favorite every time the Inner Geekdom division is up. If somebody lands on the MCU, because they are the most profitable film franchise of all time, a lot of people like to stop and smell the roses in that category. But one man who we saw a lot of this week, but one man wanted to have an entire match that's just dedicated to this incredible cinematic universe. And that is my guy, Jay Washington. And Jay Washington as Christian for a all MCU match, right? And they said, all right, let's do it.
Do it. So it's coming out in April, the same month as Endgame, Avengers. So that's going to be, I don't know who's going to be in this match, but, I'm starting to look at the numbers of how competitors from the Inner Geekdom have done in the MCU. And, Jay brought it up. Jay, petitioned for it, basically. And he is 7 out of 10 in the MCU in his Inner Geekdom career. So
that's a 70.
Yeah. But I'm looking at Hector Navarro. He was 21 of 24. Kalinowski, 12 of 18. Mark Anopik, as of right now, 13 of 15. Rachel Cushing was 10 of 14. Mark Donica, 17 of 17.
Woo! So I could see.
So those are just a couple, yeah.
If there's going to be a fatal four-way, we're going to have Jay Washington. I think Hector Navarro would be great. Of course, Mark Donica. And for some reason, he's always involved in something. So throw in Coy Jandreau. Just do it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because he's good at the Marvel set. That's his bag. When he gets into the MCU, that's his bag. So Is it not his bag?
Numbers here. I have the numbers here.
Yeah.
He was 8 of 15.
8 of 15?
Yeah. So,
that's not good. That's barely barely passable.
53%.
Yeah.
53.33 repeating. Percent.
Yes.
So,
why do I think that he's better at that? Why do I think that he's better?
It's his charisma. It's it just washes over you and it's intoxicating. So I can see why you would get, a little blurry in the eyes.
Coy Jandreau, just throw him in there. Now, if that was a lineup, I'm sorry, I'm going with Marc Donica to win that one. If you said he's 17 for 17?
17 of 17, yeah.
Yeah, how do you not go for him to win? It's almost too obvious.
It's,
It's you know what?
Jason Inman was 9 of 11. So
9 of 11 is good. It's not 17 for 17.
No, but Hector Navarro is 21 of 24. It's more questions. Yeah, he missed 3 of 24. Donica, obviously 17 of 17. But it would be a great match to have those guys in there if they're available to do it. Also, Rachel Cushing, she tweeted out, you want to see Hella return. Remember when she was Hella for Shire Wolves? So
that was fun.
She's always going to be dangerous. I mean, they right now, just looking at the Inner Geekdom, there's a slew of players that Christian can pick from. He has an embarrassment of riches, if you will. Yeah,
it's a deep, especially for that category. I think most moviegoers now, like you and I don't know how well I would do. I don't think I'm doing 17 for 17, but I've seen all the MCU movies multiple times over. I even think that I would fare okay in an MCU category.
Better than Coy? You think you'd be better than Coy?
Better than 53%? Yeah. I'd kill Coy Jandreau. I would like a one-on. Can we have a one-on-one qualifier, Christian? Me versus Coy Jandreau. I think I might win. I think it's possible.
I love Coy.
He's just got one of those. I think we talk about sometimes with the wild berries, how we just love them for being the wild berries, and I think that Coy Jandreau is like that. He's just kind of a personality that you like having around.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the other bit of news that we saw this week. Something interesting. Mark Riley, Yodi, and John Outlaw, Roca, they got together and they did almost a director's commentary, if you will, although they were not the directors, a star's commentary of it was their first championship match. And their first match.
Yeah, it was their first. It was their third match, but
first championship,
first defense against Riley. Yeah.
And I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, and I know that you didn't finish it either. It kind of came out right before our taping, but I'm definitely going to go back and watch the entire thing. And I like that idea, and I liked it was on Collider proper, and it wasn't a Patreon exclusive.
Well, it was at first actually. It came out.
Yeah, but they eventually. But I'm saying that they
just not solely, yeah.
Solely, because like the exhibition matches that are solely living on Patreon, gotcha. They at least got it around to Collider proper, so many people could enjoy that. I think that came out maybe 2 weeks ago on the Patreon. That's why you got to subscribe, guys. That's why you got to be a member of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown Patreon. Go over there, $1 tier, $5 tier, $10 tier. You get those exhibition matches as soon as they drop, like the incredible movie release dates match that we still can't talk about. I don't know. Is there going to be an embargo on that one for life? Because I want to break that one down because it was awesome.
Yeah, I think maybe it's something we can do in the off season. Because I think Christian is releasing those. If I remember correctly, those are going to be coming out in the off season.
Okay, and if you are wrong, Christian will correct you on Twitter.
That is correct. I'll get a text. I'll get a tweet ad. I'll get shamed.
We'll get made. We'll feel stupid.
I'll be put in the middle of the town square and exactly.
Burned at the stake. You know what was funny? This is off topic, but like the Salem witch trials. From back in the day, yes. You've heard of them. Yes, You know how they would determine if somebody was a witch? Do you remember learning this?
If they couldn't do magic,
no, they would throw you in a lake, and if you drown, then you weren't a witch, and if you floated, then you were a witch.
It was something ridiculous.
Solid logic, guys. We've really come a long way.
You can get out of it, basically. You're a witch. Get out of it. Out of it.
I'm like you. Perform some magic. Perform some magic. Do something magical, and then, okay, I know that it's you. So, anyway, I don't know how we got on that, but you'll be bubbly.
That reminds me of Shrek, the talking donkey, when the lady brings him up. She's like, I got a talking donkey. He's like, all right, say something. He's just like, nothing. Yeah,
no sold him. Exactly. No sold him. Yeah, I like it. Well, guys, we have to break down 2 incredible matches that went down this week. I have a lot to say to Mr. Marc Andreyko, but we will get there when we get there. First thing that we have to talk about is what we said was somewhat of a dream match. Dan Murrell, Dangerous Dan Murrell, he's been back this season. We saw him return at the live event as a part of the 5 Horsemen. He then lost against Andrew Guy, which was supposed to be the longest yard version of a tune-up match. And then we saw him and the Founding Fathers. They were good in round 1, fell short in round 2 to Corruption. And now we see him back here in the singles tournament, completing his first round by beating Stacey Howard, and now goes up against the man, the myth, the legend, big time Ethan Erwin, who has now aligned himself with Jay Washington. We've seen this this union the last couple of weeks here in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, but isn't it an odd union? Isn't this strange bedfellows? Isn't this an odd couple, if you will?
In a sense, it is, but I tell you what's even more odd, more strange.
I can't wait to hear. Is
Jay's persona in all of this now. I find it very
fake,
interesting, and I'm being look. I'm not trying to get tweeted at or by Jay here. My favorite thing he's done. I understand what's going on here, and I do like it in a sense, but it's not my favorite thing he's done. I like him more like in your face, the way he used to be with like when he was with the Viper Squad fully. When he had Janine and Stacy and Brienne to an extent too. So I prefer that kind of Jay to the Jay we're seeing now here. It's kind of funny for me, but it is an interesting pairing. You're right. And Ethan apparently is still trying to figure it out, I guess, too, as well.
yeah, he's still trying to make sense of it all. I love Ethan Erwin, though. Can I say that? I love him for many different things. I love him for his movie trivia knowledge, and I love him for his glasses, amongst other things. I find him to be like the quintessential, I don't even know. You know what he is? He is the human male version of an Amazon Alexa. When you just say, hey, Alexa, who played in, Star Wars in 1977? Just rattles off the entire cast to where you have to say, Alexa, stop. And I think this is the same thing. Ethan, stop. You know too much. Did you think that given Dan Murrell's recent track record going into this match, that Ethan Erwin was the favorite?
As much as this is a dream match for fans, this hasn't been a dream season for Murrell by any stretch of imagination. So you take a look at what Ethan has done. Yes, his only loss is to Marc Andreyko, but you look at everything he's done outside of that, aside from teams, even teams, he was pretty good. He just, things didn't work out there. But again, free for all, everything he's done leading up to the tournament. Now he's in the tournament. This was going to be. It was supposed to be a much closer match. I still thought knowledge is knowledge, so how can you really, stifle that? But apparently you can't.
Well, here's the thing: is it's almost like Shaquille O'Neal if he were to play in today's NBA. Yeah, he's dominant. Yes, he's a force. And no matter what, you're going to have to be worried about Shaquille O'Neal, but you're not going to have to worry about him draining threes. Yeah. You're not going to have to worry about the Steph Curry version of what a Shaquille O'Neal in 2018 would look like. And I don't know if that's a fair yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, there you go. But I don't know if that's a fair comparison, but I think that it might be in an analogous situation to what you're describing for Dan Murrell. It is weird that it was just how long was he officially out? Was it 8 months? I mean, was it 9 months? It was something, or I guess around there.
Yeah, so he retired after the Christian match at Spectacular 2, and he didn't come back till Collision. So a
good 8 months, a good 7-8 months, and it's crazy how much the game changed in just that 7 and 8 month period, vastly. not only with new competitors, but just a new flavor, if you will. It's always evolving.
And I think it's also everybody's strategy went to another level than when he last was in the game. You know,
when he was in the game, and I hope that this doesn't sound bad, but he could rest on his laurels of being very knowledgeable about a wide array of movies and didn't have to and we've covered this a little bit before, and I think he even said it on the show, but not have to worry constantly about, okay, I have a repeat left, okay, what's categories are on the board, okay, he's good at that, she's good at that, I'm not good at this, okay, what if I thinking of the math all the time. He doesn't seem like that player. He seems like the Barry Bonds of it all. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to swing, and I might hit a home run. I might not. And I think that's kind of his strategy. And guess what? Barry Bonds hit more home runs than anybody in history. On the juice or not, he hit more home runs than anybody in history. So, I mean, it's not like it's not a sound strategy, but we have to always bring that up when we talk about Dan Murrell's 2018 season.
And the other thing is, and other players have said this who've been in the league for, the past 3 seasons, is that the questions now are harder than they were in 2016. So, and that makes sense as well, because you go through thousands and thousands of questions. Eventually, your base first round questions are going to be a little bit tougher because it's been 3 years, Right, absolutely. There's and that's the thing, is when you step away from the game and all of those categories that you love, that you're really good at, today he picked Oscars and we're going to get into it, but all those categories that you're really good at, well, they've been chosen a bunch of times in that 8-month period, and we're getting to the bottom of the bowl, we're getting to the bedrock, we're getting to the core. It's getting hot. We're through the mantle already. The terrain has been broken. How many geography terms can you throw out?
The sedimentary rock and the igneous and the the metamorphic rock. They're all cleared out of the way.
Right, Bill Nye.
He's not even a scientist. But
he's an engineer.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I don't know if he is a scientist or not. You've lost my train of thought, and you caught me rambling. But when you get to the bottom of the barrel for some of these questions where they get very difficult, obviously we've seen what happens. So let's break the match down. Going into this, we said Ethan Erwin in this age, the age of Ethan, really, what it's been in 2018 with 1 L so far, but doing very good in the tournament. Ethan Erwin, Dan Murrell. Ethan even said in the promo, and this was what's weird. So Jay Washington is trying to ride this line of what we call in wrestling a tweener, where you're kind of a good guy, but you're kind of a bad guy, but you're trying to ride the line, and the fans kind of make up their mind as to what you are. A good example of that's a guy named Randy Orton. You never know. Is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? I don't really know. And that's kind of what Jay is right now. But then Ethan, I feel, is being slightly influenced by Jay Washington, because he even said, Dan Murrell, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to beat you so you don't have to go against your buddy Roca. So you don't have to go to New York. So you don't have to do any of those things. True. And I'm like, ooh, man, that's kind of hurts. Yeah, that kind of hurts. So I was like, it's weird how Ethan's influencing Jay, but at the same time, Jay is influencing Ethan.
Yeah, and I think once you're in Ethan's position as he is right now, he only has 1 loss, right? He has all these wins. You kind of get a little high and mighty with yourself, I think, and it's well earned by Ethan's part. But yeah, that when he was talking that minimal trash, if you will, it did take me back for a second. I was like, oh, this is a little new.
It registered. I was like, oh, well, hey there, brother. And even Dan, though. Dan, I can't remember specific things that he said, but Dan even had this kind of, hey, man, you might be big time, but you've never had a championship around your waist. I have. I am, the leader of the new Murrell order. I am Dan Murrell. So there was definitely, you remember, I think that Joe Rogan, when he would host Fear Factor, he would say, you get $50,000 and bragging rights forevermore. And I think that's what this was. This was more than just, the getting further in the championship tournament or, getting to John Roca at the Spectacular. This was for bragging rights. This was like the Dan Murrell. This is really the first All-Star game where we got to see Kobe and Mike on the floor together. So I was very excited for it. So I guess let's just jump into the match proper. We saw round one go down. Frank, give us the stats. What's the rundown on round one?
Well, Dan, he jumped off to a 2-3 deficit, a 1-point deficit to Ethan Erwin in the first three. Ethan, he went all the way. He went 6 straight correct, but then he faltered on the 7th question. So he ended up with 7 points in the end to Dan Murrell's 5, because Dan, he went just 1 of 3 in the last 3. So Ethan took advantage of that. He's up 7-5, and this is par for the course for Ethan. And actually par for the course for Dan Murrell. This is about his average, believe it or not.
This is his average for this season or for lifetime?
Lifetime in the what I call the Q8 era, which is the 8 questions in the first round.
So, really then, if you're Dan Murrell, you shouldn't be too worried. I mean, 2 points is 2 points after the first round, but if they're both hitting their averages and Dan Murrell's a 2-time champ, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be too worried.
Actually, he should be, because Ethan Erwin has only missed 1 second-round question this entire season, and so
that's a good little stat to throw out there, Janisch.
Yeah. So that's you need every point you can get.
Yeah,
especially in the first round when they're supposed to be, the rudimentary questions. Those you should hopefully be at least staying on point with Ethan. 2-point deficit. Anything can happen in that third round, like it did against Andreyko, but it's only happened once this year for Ethan. What are the odds? But a 2-point deficit is like a 4-point deficit, really.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. I didn't know that he only missed 1 second round question for the entire season. That's pretty crazy. But let's talk about the second round, because Ethan Erwin has the ability to either go first or second, correct?
Yeah.
And he chooses what, Frank?
He chooses to go first, and he spins that wheel, not from the pegs, but from the wheel.
From the wheel, and he gets dramas. But let's talk about, why do you think he wanted to go first? Because I think that was another beating of the chest moment. You're down by 2. I am, to a level of my confidence here, I am confident enough in my ability that I'm going to put all the chips out on the table for you. You're going to see how I perform in the category. You're going to know what number you need to hit in order to even get close to me. I actually think this could be the start of a new trend if you're up electing to go first.
It very well could be, but I think the caveat here is you also have to be as good as Ethan Erwin. I don't know if this strategy can apply to a lot of other players, because, like I said, Ethan's only missed 1 second-round question. And I don't know if he knows that. I would doubt it. I don't know if he's really keeping track of how well he does in the second round. I think he's doing good, or he believes he's doing good, just doesn't know that he's only missed 1. But I also think I don't know how much he thinks about strategy. So if I'm just thinking about a first-year player, I'm thinking maybe he thinks a good strategy is, let me go first, because that way I'll have a pick of all the categories, and that way, I have everything's at my disposal. And so if I want to spin again, then I can. I had the luxury of landing on another category. Dan won't have taken maybe something that I like a lot. But then again, he is Ethan Erwin. He has very limited weaknesses. So it kind of almost... Strategy is very unique to Ethan, whether he goes first or second, because his knowledge is so on point that he's probably the only player in the league where strategy is almost irrelevant to him, much like Bibiani thought it was irrelevant to him way back in his early days in his career in the Schmoedown. That's what he reminds me of, but
he does.
He's actually doing it better than Bibiani thought he could do it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know that Ethan really has to think that much about strategy, because he's a nightmare. He's a nightmare.
He is a nightmare, man. And I almost think we should change his name from Big Time to Ethan, the Amazon Echo Erwin. I really want to pitch this. Christian, I mean, come on. It's a good idea. It's a great idea. You should film a promo where you go, Ethan, instead of Alexa, and then have him answer the question. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
He should be the first player with just one name, Ethan. That's it.
Ooh, I like that. No Big Time, Ethan. No Erwin.
Just Ethan.
You already know. It's like Kane,
know, man.
Or the Undertaker. Undertaker. That's all you got to say. Rock. I'm just throwing it out there, Christian. Frank.
It won't happen. It won't happen.
I mean, we come up with some good ideas. You know what I mean? I'm still stuck on my corruption New World Order thing, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let's move on.
God, I love that so much. I have dreams about that. I don't, but
Well, you might. Dramas, at least dreams about me. Dramas. How does he score, Frank? Tell the people.
Well, he goes 4 of 4, and he gets 6 points here, and he utilizes that multiple choice, and that's a sign of a great player if you can go to multiple choice and you're like, I can pretty much figure it out from here. We've seen players do some deduction here. I think even McCougas talked about it on Collider Live, and he's talking about his matches like, I may not know the answer, but I'm smart enough to figure out this answer wouldn't apply, this multiple choice answer wouldn't apply here or here. So I think maybe Ethan might be using some of that, but also sometimes it's just a case of just hearing it and it wipes away the cobwebs for you, so you get the answer as soon as you hear it. So there's a couple ways how you can use multiple choice to your benefit. I think he does that here a couple times, and that's part of just being super knowledgeable. That sometimes you have so much knowledge in there, you need something to ring the bell for you, and he does really well here in that second round.
Yeah, he absolutely does. I mean, getting all of them correct, whether it's multiple choice or not, is going to put you in a very good position. Not giving Dan Murrell an opportunity to jump in there and get some of those points that he could have gotten in round one but didn't, make up that 2-point differential from round number one. So then you go to Dan Murrell. I talk about strategy, right?
Yeah.
So we've talked about with Dan Murrell in this episode. He spins, and he gets the one thing that you want to get against Ethan Erwin, especially when you're down. You get the ultimate category here. The ultimate thing that you can land on the wheel when you spin from the wheel and not from the pegs. You get spinner's choice. That is a very good thing to land on. If you're Dan Murrell and you land on this, you've got to feel pretty good. You've got to feel confident. Then, when he chose Oscars, before he even reacted, I reacted. And I said, "Oh, okay. Okay, I don't know about that one." And then he even comments something to the effect of, "We'll see how it goes."
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to be saying. And that's exactly what you want to be hearing if you're a fan of Dan Murrell.
I was like, what? What? We'll see how it goes? Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you want to see how it goes? Why not just know how it's going to go? Why not pick something that... And I know that Oscars has... I don't know what his lifetime percentage is for it. Maybe you have it, maybe you don't, Frank. But you think, okay, Dan will probably do pretty good in Oscars. I mean, he'll do well. But it's a difficult category for anybody. Even the Oscar fans, the Ben Batemans. We've seen him choose Oscars and have to go to multiple choice. Rachel Cushing is another who we've seen go to multiple choice in these Oscar questions. So it's not just one of these things that if you're well-read in Oscars history, you're going to be spouting off 2-point answers left and right. It's going to be one that you're going to have to sit there and think. And as a spinner's choice, I just don't think that's what he should have gone for.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't look at the wheel or write down what was left on the wheel, but I did note that in the stats segment that both times he's gotten spinner's choice in the past, he's opted for comic book movies. I do know that was not on the wheel, and obviously if it was, he probably would have picked it, but it wasn't, so he went to another strength of his.
You went to the exact opposite.
Well, I mean, in a sense, sure. Although Black Panther was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Picture.
That's not an Oscar.
I know, but still.
The Golden Globes. What was the John Schnepp joke about The Martian was the best musical or comedy?
Yeah, it's great. But anywho, I didn't completely disagree with his pick on Oscars. Yeah, it is a strength of his. So I don't fault him for picking it, but yeah, you kind of got to see how it goes.
But I don't like that. To me, that's another part of this strategy. You should be confident in the category that you're picking. You know, you shouldn't say after getting Spinner's choice and selecting the category of your choice, we'll see how it goes.
I will say that. I mean, yeah, you probably shouldn't say that out loud. Sure,
you can think it. You can think it all day. Just don't say it.
Just don't say it out loud. I will say this. I think it did actually work to his benefit because I don't know how well versed Ethan Erwin is in Oscars, and apparently not enough to have a 2-point steal right off the bat. Because Dan Murrell, he did miss his first question. Ethan was not able to steal.
It's true.
So perhaps that is something that Ethan is not well versed in. We haven't really seen him answer any Oscar questions, not to my recollection. Maybe some of the comments can answer that better. But let's see what he got. He ended up getting 5 points here. So now he's down 3 points.
You're trailing another point. Yeah, he couldn't cut the lead down. Now, 3 points isn't the worst thing to be down by, but it's not a good thing against Ethan Erwin. Just like you pointed out with the round number 1, it's just not good against somebody who we've seen be so dominant. And
I always say this, at the very least, if you're going to go into round 3, you do not want to be down any more than 2 points. Because you answer your 2-pointer, and if that's able to tie it or throw it back rather to your opponent, now there's some pressure on them to answer a third round question where the intensity gets ramped up a little bit. It's the end of the match is nearing, and had Dan been able to stay within that 2-point range, because he gets his, I'm jumping ahead of it here. He gets his 2-pointer right. That means it would have went back to Ethan Erwin, and now maybe Ethan gets it, maybe he doesn't. But now you're tied. So now if Ethan misses it, it goes back to Dan. We know Dan misses, and then it goes back to Ethan. Does he hit or miss? You never know. So you never really get that opportunity. So that's why I always think if you can just keep it within 2, you're in a good shot to at least put some pressure on your opponent. You have a better shot of doing it. Rather than 3, because if you're down by 3, you have to answer at least 2 questions, no matter what.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right, and it just put Dan already off the bat in a just he's fighting with his back against the wall. As Jay-Z once said in Renegade, back against the wall, ashy knuckles. I don't know what that line means, but I really like it. So
we should point out though that what did you think when Dan opted not to use multiple choice on that first question? He went for the 2-pointer. He guessed at it.
Well, that could have been him implementing strategy. And I'm sure that it was. What, I got to take a swing on this. And maybe you're right though. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe he just thought that Ethan, wasn't going to. And I can't recall everything he said in the post match, so forgive me if I repeat anything that he said. But maybe he did think that Ethan wasn't going to be that well-versed in Oscars, so he thought it was a safe bet to go ahead and take that swing and a miss for the 2 points in order to make it up right off the bat, and then he can think, okay, now we're here neck and neck. If I can finish the rest of the round off and get the additional 6 points, my math might be off, but I think that they would have been tied, or close, or maybe Dan would have even had a lead going into round number.
He would have cut it by 1, I think. Had he got that 2-pointer,
and then the rest of them, it would have been tied.
He would have done. No, he still would have been down by 1.
He still would have been down by 1. Okay. So anyway, it's better than being down by 2. No matter how, or 3, no matter how you slice it. And so let's talk about the how it played out in round number 3, Frank.
Well, not that great for Dan. His first question was what funny man took a dramatic turn as troubled salesman Barry Egan in Punch Drunk Love. It was Adam Sandler, so he got that right. But because he was down by 3, he had to answer another question to even have a shot at throwing it back to Ethan Erwin. So his second one was, and this one killed me. It was Westerns. Who played Dirty Steve in 1988's Young Guns? Now, Dan, he says Emilio Estevez. If you do not know that Emilio Estevez is Billy the Kid, I don't know. I don't know why he threw out that answer. He could have picked anybody else but that, and I would have understood. He's just taking a guess, but there's no way you say Emilio Estevez because he is the star of that movie. He's Billy the Kid. Like, how do you not remember that? Like, he could have said Charlie Sheen or Kiefer Sutherland or
just any other name that he knew was in the movie. Yeah.
And I actually I love Young Guns, but I didn't know I couldn't recall who Dirty Steve was. But I was like, I feel like that is Dermot Mulroney because he is a dirty MFer in that movie. So it had to be him. And it was, but I don't know what kind of mindset Dan was in at that point.
He might have felt a little defeated. It's very possible because I think he even said, "I'm just going to take a shot in the dark in this one," and he just threw out the only name that maybe he could even think of from the film.
Maybe.
You know, and he was like, "I know this isn't right, but it's the only thing I can think of. Here we go. You know, I'm not going to not answer the question." So he threw out Emilio Estevez. So he gets that one wrong. So Ethan Erwin go.
Like, even still with that, he didn't even ask for a repeat on that. You know, and that's the interesting thing. He didn't even ask for a repeat on that question. So that's why I was really just shocked he threw out Emilio Estevez's name in that situation.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I just, like I said, he might have felt a little defeated in that very moment. So then we go to the 5-pointer.
Yeah, it's this one was a good one. Who directed 2012's The Bourne Legacy starring Jeremy Renner?
That was a killer. When I heard that one, I was like, oh.
That is a good one.
Ooh.
Because everyone, you know, the previous two, Supremacy and Ultimatum was directed by Paul Greengrass, and he knew that, and that was his throughout their answer.
Didn't Greengrass do the Jason Bourne movie too?
Yes.
Yeah.
And but he knew it wasn't that. But I had no idea it was Tony Gilroy. I couldn't even come up with that. So I don't fault him really for that one because that was
my guess was Adam McKay. I don't know why. I was just like, Adam McKay? Sounds like somebody.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely done movies. Yeah.
He's done movies. I was close. He's directed a movie.
But yeah, I mean, for a 5-pointer, that's very gettable. I mean, you're only asking for a director. You know, so it's. You can't be mad at getting that 5-pointer at all, especially if that's when you go out on. But you know, it just wasn't meant to be for Dan Murrell in this case.
It wasn't meant to be for Dan Murrell. Ethan Erwin advances. He was going to play the winner of Clarke Wolfe and Marc Andreyko, which we're going to get to. But Dan isn't out of it. Now, explain to me how this works, Frank, because Dan still has an opportunity to get an opportunity.
That's right. He will have to play the loser of Wolfe and Andreyko, which we now know is Andreyko. And that person will then will be in a number one contender spot. So basically they're playing a third place match.
Right.
To the tournament final. And the loser of the tournament final is second place. So second and third place would play a number one contender spot. And there you go.
So we'll see a number one contenders match between second and third place in the final. So we know Dan Murrell has an opportunity to get the opportunity to get an opportunity. Right. Let's talk about one thing, though, before we move off this match at all, because we got to talk about Ethan Erwin going forward. Can anybody stop him? Well, there would be one person that we know could stop him in the next match. But let's talk about this cutscene that we saw. Yeah. The first one. Before the match even started. You saw young Thad Williams. Thaddeus Maximus was in there chilling like a villain, balloon filling,
watching the player count.
MC killing. He was watching on his computer. And then I would like to use the term gentleman, but I don't know if it's applicable because he seemed a little bit slimy. But a man that is known as Senor G, a.k.a. Mr. G, a.k.a. Paulie G,
Paulie G. You don't know Paulie G?
Paulie G, you know, from the shore. Paulie G from the shore.
G. Yeah.
he was cousins with Monzo Babonzo from down the way. Okay, anyway.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's, did you ever see Don Rickles on the old Carson Tonight Show? Go watch him. Like, I mean, he always would be like, there's a classic clip. Just, I'm not going to explain it. Go Google Johnny Carson, Don Rickles, Frank Sinatra, and you will laugh. It's very good stuff. But anyway, we saw them have a very, very odd interaction. Paulie G was kind of explaining who he was and what he has done and who he represents. Talking about Mr. Kalinowski, of course. What did you make of all that, Frank?
Yeah, it's interesting that Paulie G is kind of throwing himself into the mix now, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm with Kalinowski here. Kalinowski's kind of been, doing what I ask of him, and that's kind of, messing with Thad the whole season. And now I'm here to tell you that you should probably win this Commissioner Bowl, and if you do, well, you don't have to worry about anything else ever again. Like he's some mob boss,
Right.
Paulie G, the mob boss.
Paulie G. Yeah.
Paulie G of Burbank? Okay, anyway.
Okay.
So
there's Italians in Burbank.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. So this was interesting, and just another. Now it's just like another person that Thad's got to worry about, I guess. Whether or not he's gonna be looking over his shoulder about.
So because I got the sense too, is Paulie G the string puller, or is Kalinowski and Paulie G, are they a tandem?
Well, it seems like, if you remember when Thad stood up to Kalinowski.
Yes.
Kalinowski calls Paulie G.
That's
like,
true.
Hey, remember this guy's, his balls just dropped. Like, what do I do?
Right.
So, so now here comes Paulie G saying, listen.
He seems like the mafioso, but at the same time, I don't know. I think that it's probably more of a tandem thing. I don't know. Maybe the New World Order will happen still. Maybe we'll see the New World Order. Maybe this is the beginning. Maybe Paulie G. Back in the day, this is another great wrestling storyline. Maybe this is where it's going.
He's a lawyer, and lawyers work for people.
Exactly. They represent people. People don't represent them typically.
Yeah, so is it really Kalinowski? Is he working for Kalinowski because Kalinowski would employ him because he's a lawyer?
I don't know. Maybe he's on...
What's that dynamic?
I don't know. But, it could be something like this. Think about this. What if Paulie G has been angling for the commissionership? What if it's what he wants? And
so
maybe...
if Thad wins, that means
Paulie.
He can swipe, he can pull it out from... he can take it away from Thad because he's Thad.
Right. He can push over Thad. Because a great wrestling angle from back in the day was... after WCW and ECW invaded the WWF, and then the WWF defeated them at the Survivor Series, the next night on Monday Night Raw, a man by the name of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, came out, and he said, there was all this stock, that Stephanie and Shane had to sell to somebody, so I bought it. Guess what, Vince? You and I are partners now, 50-50 owners, right, of the WWF. Maybe Paulie G's trying to be a 50% owner. I don't know what's going on, but I think that he's angling to be the master, the commissioner of the movie trivia Schmoedown. And that's what leads me the bridge to the River Kwai into the next match, because we see at the very beginning of it, Mr. Christian Harloff. Christian Harloff is standing there getting
drinking
something.
His famed LaCroix.
Drinking that LaCroix boy. He's a LaCroix boy.
Yeah.
He is a LaCroix boy. And he's sitting there, and then we see, once again, the aforementioned Paulie G. Paulie G says something about a vested interest in the movie trivia Schmoedown with Mike Kalinowski, and then Christian has a great line where he goes, well, you do have a nice vest. I did like that little throwaway line there. And then they kind of discuss the Commissioner Bowl, and it was weird. And then Paulie G kind of leaves, and Christian's like, man, this league has changed a lot.
Yeah. They got a bunch of rambunctious little...
The inmates are running the asylum.
I mean, yeah.
In a lot of ways.
A bang-up job, yeah.
Yeah. So that was an interesting interaction between Christian and Paulie G. Paulie G now...
Theory?
Uh-huh.
I got a theory. What are the... I mean, Paulie G's a lawyer here. and multiple people can employ the same lawyer.
True.
Well, what if Paulie G, yes, he's working with Kalinowski, but he's also been employed by Brienne Chandler, who's putting together a players union.
So or is Brienne working for him?
Or is Brienne again? She could, yes.
That one makes more sense.
That could be
because
why? Because you said it.
Yes, of course. Because I'm way more intelligent.
Okay.
But think about it. If she's doing the players union stuff to try to once again make Thad force him into something, right?
Yeah.
She's forcing him into this commissioner bowl, and maybe she's with the hopes that he won. Maybe I don't know what would be her hope. Her hope would be that he wins, so that Paulie G can take over. I don't know.
But Paulie G would then be telling Brienne something different, even though Paulie G has an ulterior motive with Brienne. He's like, I want to use Brienne as a pawn, basically. Yeah, let's do all this rah-rah union stuff. Go and get in Thad's face, so that way it forces him into the Commissioner's Bowl, which I want him to do, so that if he wins the Commissioner's Bowl, then I can swoop in and take the commissionership. And who cares what I told Brienne? You know, because Brienne thinks the league will be better.
Right. Right. Where does Kalinowski fit in all this? Is he just a pawn as well, or is he really the one who is using? Here's the thing: is Kalinowski now using Paulie G to get Brienne to get Thad to put his commissionership on the line? So then,
because Kalinowski's pretty much used up all his equity he's built up in the league, and all his power is kind of dwindled down now, so he has to use Paulie G as a proxy,
right,
to get the stuff done. And it could be
a lot of things. What's y'all's theory? Comment below, brother.
This is the most we've ever theorized on.
I think this is. We're very deep. We're deep into it.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Let's talk about this second match, the Friday match. Clarke Wolfe, Marc Andreyko. The Five Club collides. The Mega Powers collide, if you will, in the semifinals for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown singles tournament, the Ultimate Schmoedown tournament. I just had a feeling that Clarke Wolfe was going to win. I'm just throwing it out. I'm throwing it out there already. I think once you get so close to the championship, like they both did this year, because let's not forget, Andreyko and Clarke Wolfe both had a shot at the championship, both fell, right? But something about Clarke Wolfe, man, she is fiery. This is a fiery player. And I think that she seems like the type who would be more motivated by loss, more motivated in defeat to get back to that position, to get back to the opportunity to grab the brass ring. She seems like that type. So that's why I kind of felt that Clarke Wolfe was going to win this match, because she had more of the motivation. Marc Andreyko, to me, phenomenal player, had the moment of the year last year. But even in his loss to Bibiani, he was like, oh, well, I had an opportunity, didn't go my way. Hey, I'm going to try again next time. Doesn't, to me, seem as motivated. And this could be a mischaracterization of me for Marc Andreyko, but to me, he didn't seem as motivated to return to championship glory.
I think that's sort of correct. I look at it as Marc Andreyko is very passionate about the game. He's very invested in the game. Whenever I'm there and he's there, he's very tuned into the match that's happening. He's very much paying attention to the questions and how things are going in the match. So he's very much invested in the Schmoedown. Let's not
Oh, absolutely.
That point.
Yes.
However, to the game point though, playing the game, I think when he's out there, he's just like, you know what? As intense as it can be off screen, it's just a game. In the end, it's just a game, and that's how he approaches it. And I think that's probably maybe to take off some pressure, but also to realize, like, hey, we're out here to have fun first and foremost. And I think that kind of gets lost with some players in certain situations. But I think Marc Andreyko has always been pretty good at keeping that same kind of level-headedness behind the scenes or in front of or during the match. So I think that's probably what his tactic is for approach any kind of match, because like you said, he expected to lose to Drew, he expected to lose to Ethan, he expected to lose basically.
He just thinks he's a loser, but he's not.
But
he
not.
wins.
He had one defeat so far this year up until Clarke, so it's like, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
And your one defeat was against the guy who won the championship. Like, not a bad person to lose to. I want to say, before we jump into the match proper, whoever, and I don't know if it was Wilhelm, I don't know if it was RB3, I don't know who cut this promo together.
Yeah.
But I will say, this is the best promo I've ever seen in the movie Trivia Schmoedown. If you were completely cold, see, this is something that WWE used to do so great back in the pay-per-view era in the late 90s, early 2000s. You could watch the show completely cold, have no idea about any of the stories, any of the characters, and when you watch the pay-per-views, it's going to have, before every match, it'll have a little music video promo that'll show you the entire story leading up into this point to get you invested. And if you did watch all the content, to get you reinvested and remind you what has occurred throughout the years, or throughout the months, or throughout the weeks. And that is what this promo did. When I watched it, I was like, man, I did not realize all these things, with the Five Club. Oh, Manager Bowl, Andreyko joins, then the Shire Wolves join, then there's this, championship history between Clarke Wolfe, the championship history for Marc Andreyko, and you see it all play into this moment. I was like, whoever edited it, I don't know who it was. I haven't asked.
I'm like 99% sure it was RB3.
RB3
He usually does them. Yeah.
My guy, you killed this. This is so good. And if you're one of those people who are watching this show who just skip to the matches, and hey, we've all done it, but don't do it this time. I swear to the good Lord above, don't do it this time. If you skipped it, go back and watch it. It was so well put together. I hope I'm not overhyping it, because when it was something that's just one of those things that when you watch week to week to week, these things, when they're very good, they stand out. And this one stood out. It
starts with Clarke's story, and it flows very well into Marc's journey.
Yes.
And so I was like, wow, that's a hell of a fluid transition there. And yeah, it was really good. But I was also noting, like, it was kind of long, but not in the sense that I was getting bored with it, but in the sense that, man, it's been a long year. Mm-hmm. A lot has happened. Like, holy shit.
Because it starts really at Spectacular 2, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of where the video...
Manageable,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A little bit before that, I guess. So, anyway, great work. If it was RB3, salute, my G. Now, let's talk about the match proper. One of the first things that stuck out to me was I did enjoy the promos that were done together. And then I enjoy, the fact that they came out together in their entrance. They stuck with the unity. A lot of the times when you see the teams clash, one's going to come out, the other one's going to come out. These two said, hey, whoever wins, they win. And we're going to be happy either way. And I know Emma Fyfe was obviously going to be happy either way, but we're going to be happy either way. But was this one a competitive match? Oh, hell yeah. I really enjoyed this one.
And let's not forget, this is the first time Clarke has faced off against a teammate, in a sense, because she did take on Mark Riley in a number one contenders match, and that was ultimately to play John Roca, and which, by the way, that commentary of that very match that Riley was in is up on Collider right now, so you can watch that player commentary. But Clarke is no stranger to playing a teammate, or a faction mate in this case with Marc Andreyko, a teammate basically. So although I think in that Riley Wolfe match, I don't think they came out together. So that's the only thing.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I did love how the unity in the team was here. So let's talk about it, Frank. Give me the rundown on round number 1. What happened between Clarke Wolfe and Marc Andreyko?
Yeah, so basically for the first 7 questions, they hit the same questions, they missed the same questions, and it was 5-5 at that point going into the last question. Fantasy sci-fi, it was what question was that? That was the, why can't I knew this answer too, but I can't.
Your memory's better than mine.
Yeah. Marc Andreyko, he gets it. Clarke Wolfe misses it. And so Andreyko's up 6-5. And Clarke Wolfe, as good as she is in the first round, especially in teams where she's basically averaging like 7 points. She's a little bit around the 5 to 6 range in singles. I do not know why. It's players like her and Drew McWeeny who have like this
stellar team record.
Play. Yeah, like super good during teams. When it comes over to singles, especially concerning the first round, it's like they're a point or two below their team league average, and that's kind of the case here with Clarke Wolfe.
I think sometimes that could just be you're maybe a little bit more relaxed when you know you have someone else you can count on.
Right.
Not all the pressure's on you, so you're maybe a little bit more just calm, cool, and collected. I think that's probably the most simple explanation. Now, was this round one? Was this where that Antonio Banderas question was with Channing Tatum?
Yes.
I don't remember the answer to that, but holy hell, who knew that there was a Channing Tatum Antonio Banderas movie? Obviously, nobody except for Chris Skaliski. He was the only one who knew. No, when I heard that, I was like, what the hell are they talking about? I was like, was he in Kingsman? Antonio Banderas? Then I started thinking, well, maybe it was an animated movie that I was unaware of, but then it was action. It was just an odd question. I just wanted to throw that one out there. Very odd question. So how'd the round end? What was the final score?
Yeah, Clarke Wolfe with 5, Marc Andreyko with 6.
So 1 point difference, not too bad. Clarke can definitely overcome a 1 point difference against Marc Andreyko. So we go into the next round. Marc Andreyko, again, correct me if I'm wrong, elects to go first and spins Sandra Bullock, of course, and he kept it.
A strength of Clarke's.
I have a cat behind me, but yes, a strength of Clarke Wolfe's, and he keeps it. It is very, very odd. Why do you think he did that? Where's the strategy in that one?
Well, I think I don't know if it was Ellis or Christian. They mentioned it that taking a strength of Clarke's off the wheel can be a strategic move as long as you don't get burned by it. Mm-hmm. And clearly, Marc Andreyko was pretty knowledgeable with Sandra Bullock. I mean, he went 3 of 4 here. He got 5 points, and he gave up that 2-point steal right off the bat. It was a speed question, which. It
was like, why did Sandra Bullock take the bus that day? And he said to get to work. Which was a good answer, I guess.
Well,
get to work.
She was, but the reason why ultimately was because she lost her license. Wasn't that the case? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Clarke gets the steal. Obviously knows her Sandra Bullock there. And so she picks up a 2-point steal, which now puts her in the lead by 1 without even having to go yet. So that was very advantageous for Clarke.
Now, how did Marc Andreyko perform for the rest of the round?
Yeah, he answered the next 3, and he ended up with 5 points, only going to multiple choice once. So, again, it appears like he knows his Sandra Bullock. He just, I forgive him for that speed question, because I said go to work too. And ultimately, I think that's what she was doing. But the answer they were looking for, and which Clarke knew the answer right off the bat, was she lost her license.
Right. Now, then Clarke Wolfe goes. Clarke Wolfe goes, and Clarke Wolfe spins the dreaded opponent's choice.
Yeah, and that's right after Marc Andreyko flirted with landing on opponent's choice and ultimately landed on Sandra Bullock. Not the case for Clarke Wolfe here.
Yeah, and for somebody who has been somewhat lucky, some could say, with the wheel as of late, this was definitely an end to her luck. This was not what you want to get. It's safe to say. Don't you always love
the only person that can land on this and not give a crap is Ethan Erwin.
Yes.
Like,
Ethan. We don't say Erwin. Don't you love when people say it's safe to say and then they say the most obvious thing ever? It's safe to say this isn't what she wanted to land on.
Very safe. Very safe
to say. But Marc Andreyko, you wondered, was he going to give her a tough category, or was he going to give her something because this is his buddy, this is his faction mate, this is his teammate? Was he going to give her something that would be in her realm of answering? He goes with musicals, which is definitely something that he is well versed in, a strength of his, just as Sandy was a strength of hers. I don't know Clarke Wolfe's lifetime average on musicals, and one day, Frank, you'll put it on triviasd.com.
One of these days.
But she didn't seem all that much concerned, but still probably not the category she would have wanted.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to the kind of the nature of this match. It was like, I'm playing against a friend here, a teammate, a faction mate. It is what it is. You know, one of us is going to represent in the tournament final, and that's fine. However this match goes is how it goes. And I think that probably maybe that aided her in this round, because I don't think either one of them was feeling any kind of pressure here. It's just, let's go up and have fun, answer trivia. Oh, I got musicals after spinning an opponent's choice. That's funny. All right, let's go. Nothing to like, screw this wheel. I hate this wheel. None of that stuff. Nothing negative coming out of there. So I think, that probably helped her in a sense. Oh,
absolutely, it helped. It helped tenfold to be a little bit more relaxed. And she gets a couple questions. One of the questions was, and I wanted to bring this up. It was, what was the name of the high school in Greece?
Yeah.
And this was one where I knew the answer, but I didn't know it right away.
Yeah,
and when you talked
quickly, yeah.
Right, yeah, and when you talked about the importance of multiple choice, when Ethan Erwin went to it in his drama category, and even talked about Josh McCouga would discuss, hey, I could reason through it. This is one of the times where multiple choice would have been my friend, at least. I would have been like,
sure.
If I heard it, I would have known it. As soon as she said Rydell High, I was like, oh, of course, Rydell. Yeah. And so I wanted to bring that up just for the fact of multiple choice can be your friend. Now, how does Clarke Wolfe do throughout the entire rest of the round?
So she gets 3 of 4. She misses a multiple choice question. Marc Andreyko was not able to capitalize, so she gets 6 points on 3 correct answers. So she ends up actually earning of 8 points to Marc Andreyko's 5, so outscoring him by 5, which means she's up by 2 going into the final round, which is right where you want to be for Marc Andreyko, like I said earlier, pertaining to the Dan Murrell match.
No, absolutely. And this was, in my estimation at least, it was very... I was never very much worried about Clarke in the third round. I thought that she was going to be good. And I say that because I was rooting for Clarke throughout the duration of the match. And I thought, okay, I feel okay. I think she's going to get through this. I still see a Clarke Wolfe W coming in the near future. So let's break down round number 3. Round number 3 went as follows, Frank Janisch.
Yeah, it starts off with Marc Andreyko. He gets the category of comedy for his 2-pointer, and it's in The Hangover as a prank. The trio steals a tiger from what famous athlete?
Mike Tyson. Iron Mike Tyson, the baddest man on the planet.
So that's definitely a 2-pointer. That's probably a 1-pointer, but
it's really a 1-pointer. It's a negative 2-pointer. You actually should lose points for getting that one correct. Mike Tyson, of course, and he was in the sequel too. Mike Tyson was in the sequel.
That's right. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Had Dan been able to keep within 2 points, or any player to keep within 2 points, because Marc Andreyko got this correct, that means it had to go back to Clarke Wolfe. And what happened? She gets new releases, and that question is, what musician was kidnapped by the villainous Poppy and Kingsman, the Golden Circle? And that answer was Elton John. She said Rihanna. I actually guessed Elton John. I haven't seen this one. I actually guessed Elton John. I don't know why.
Hey man, I wouldn't mind kidnapping Rihanna. I'm just gonna be honest. I hope that doesn't incriminate me in any kind of way. But if I had a choice.
Well, if the FBI is listening, that's not for real, probably.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, FBI.
Wink,
but
wink.
If I had a choice between Elton John and Rihanna, I'm just gonna go with Rihanna. Sure. But yeah, so she gets it wrong and it moves along.
Right, and so then she, or it goes back to Marc Andreyko rather, because they're tied. And Andreyko gets animated. And who directed the 2017's The Lego Batman movie? And that was Chris McKay. He couldn't come up with it. So then it has to go back to Clarke Wolfe for her 3-pointer in action adventure. Now, before I get to that, did you know who directed Lego Batman?
I said Adam McKay.
No, you didn't.
He's my answer for everything. Adam McKay.
Your answer for everything?
I'd have been closer there.
I mean, this one, I love Lego Batman movie, but I could not get this one. I couldn't
get through Lego Batman movie.
I'm not good at directors for animation.
Right.
At all,
right. Yeah. That's a difficult one.
Brad Bird. Then that's the only one I'll say. But
You're right. That'd be my guess for all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But go ahead to her. This is probably a point of contention for a lot of people. So let's discuss it.
In this 2013 action comedy sequel, retired covert eyes are forced back into service to track down a portable nuclear device. And of course, the answer is Reds 2. Actually, it's not. It's
Red 2. Yes.
I didn't want to see it. Literally watched just, oh my God, really? Here we go. Okay. That's like, this is how we're going to lose this match. This is how Clark's going to lose this match on an S. Like, good Lord. But it's the rules, right? It's the rules.
Because there was some kind of like, when she got it wrong, right? With the just reds and red. But I'm like, come on, guys. We've seen this play out enough. Mask.
You can hear Marc Andreyko go, like, he still has that competitive fire where he's like, that's not correct. But added an S. You can hear it if you listen closely. I don't know if anybody really picked up on it. I haven't looked at the comments section of the match, but I heard it and I was like, yeah, he wants to win.
Right. So she gets that one incorrect, which leads us to our next question.
Yeah, so then it goes back to Marc Andreyko because, yes, we are still tied, and Christian brings up we're having shades of that Sam Levine title match that Clarke had where no one got anything right in that third round, or the final round, rather, before it went to overtime. And so Marc Andreyko gets crime category, and what two actors starred alongside Alan Arkin in the 2012 crime comedy Stand Up Guys, and it was Christopher Walken and Al Pacino, and he got that wrong. So,
which, by the way, that's a good movie. Yeah. Have you seen that movie?
I haven't. No.
It's a fun movie. It's a very funny, fun movie. I suggest you all go watch Stand Up Guys. I very much enjoy it. But continue, because I have a lot to say about this last question.
Okay, and goes back to Clarke for the game winner potentially in the category of 2000s. It's a 5-pointer. What 2000 comedy featured cameos from real-life pro wrestlers Diamond Page, Bill Goldberg, Oh Man, Randy Savage, and Booker T.
Can you dig that?
It was
Ready to Rumble.
Ready to Rumble.
Yes.
And that's all she wrote.
So,
well, except for what you're about to say.
there's a beauty, first of all, for Booker T being the person to help Clarke Wolfe across the finish line and into the finals. I do very much enjoy that. Shout out to Booker T. This movie also was just discussed on the Heated Conversations podcast with the star of the movie, no, not Booker T, David Arquette. I would suggest you go check it out. We had David Arquette on the show and discussed Ready to Rumble at length. Some might say ad nauseum. And then we discussed his death match in which he almost died in recently.
Right.
Real life, guys. Real life. But was it not funny in some way that Marc Andreyko's championship dreams were crushed twice in a final 5-point question in the third round by the same movie? This is shades of Sam Levine and Drew McQueenie with Remember the Titans. This was Ready to Rumble has been the downfall of Marc Andreyko, not once, but twice. If it happens a third time, that's a 1, 2, and a 3, Marc Andreyko. That's how we do it in the sport of professional wrestling. Which, by the way, he said in his post-match interview, wasn't really a sport, brother. Well, next time me and the Booker Man touch down in L.A., you're welcome to go one-on-one with the great one, and we'll see how much of a sport it really is. Marc Andreyko, you're the android. You're going to have to go against the King Booker, G.I. Bro. He is 250 pounds of romping, stomping, grave-digging destruction. He is the master of disaster, the king of sting. All right, you don't want to go against the Booker Man. So that's to you, Marc Andreyko. But Clarke Wolfe does win with Ready to Rumble. She gets the correct answer, and she moves on. We're going to see Clarke Wolfe versus Ethan, which is another dream match. We're getting dream match after dream match here, Frank Janisch.
And on top of that, we're going to get a Marc Andreyko Dan Murrell match.
Yes.
Which is just going to be another stellar match, or has the makings of one. So the runner-up match, if you will, or a third-place match, is just going to be, I think, as good. Now, I wonder... No, that's going to be a 3-rounder. Never mind. I thought for a second, would it be a 5? But it won't.
It's going to be a trace.
But the final, some people forget that the tournament final is a 5-round match. So... And it's going to be speed round.
It's going to be a bar burner. But this is great opportunity for Clarke Wolfe, who has experience here. She's got experience in the 5-round category, or the 5-round matches. So we'll see how it all plays out for Clarke Wolfe versus Ethan.
For a shot to play John Roca, who she's never played. They've never played against each other. It's something they have talked about. It's something I think Roca talked about it a while back when he was on the show. He's never played Clarke Wolfe, and they would love to play each other. It just never happened, and she's one match away from making that happen at Spectacular. And speaking of Spectacular, it was brought up in that post-match that no matter what, she's playing in 2 matches at Spectacular, which she's not very fond of, that idea.
Yeah, because
I don't blame her.
That's double duty, and you might be burnt out, wear yourself out throughout the course of that day. Who knows? You're going to play back-to-back. You're going to play the first match and then the second-to-last match at Spectacular and have all this downtime. You don't know, and a lot of things can go wrong. So I see where she's going with that. Let's talk real quick, Frank, before we put a bow on this bad boy. Talk to me about this final cutscene that we saw with Ethan.
Yeah, so this one, Jay and Ethan, Jay being his new
manager.
He's this new lively person now.
Yes.
Because Ethan doesn't like the rudeness that Jay was bringing previously. But that didn't stop Jay from swiping the singles league title belt off of Roca's desk and showing Ethan, hey, here's some motivation, like it's a carrot dangling in front of Ethan or something, And Ethan was like, I don't want to touch it because I'm kind of superstitious. Kind of like how players in hockey, they don't touch the conference trophy because it's not the Stanley Cup. It's one of those deals. And I was like, first of all, I don't know about you, but I was like, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch Ethan. Like before, I'm like, you never touch the belt if it's not yours,
right?
Because you get that bad mojo. So he didn't touch it, and he brought that up. He's like, I'm superstitious. So I did like this interaction here, and. What ultimately Ethan said, I think, he's like, I'm not sure if I like you, but keep up the good work.
Great line. Great line. Well, we're going to see what happens next week in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. It promises to be a good one. And Frank, do we have a date? Remind me, do we have a date for Spectacular?
It's December. Let me look at the calendar real quick because I don't know when I see it.
It's December. You're very good at this.
21st?
December the 21st.
Because next week is the final, and then we get the preview, or is next week the 3rd place match, then the tournament final on next Friday, and then the following Tuesday is Spectacular preview, and then that following Friday is Spectacular, if I have that correct. Check TriviaSD.com. It has a schedule.
TriviaSD.com will have the schedule, and Frank Janisch will also have some special stuff on TriviaSD.com. He is a writer. But Frank, why don't you let people know where they can find you on all social media and all that good stuff?
Find me on Twitter and Instagram, Friendster, MySpace at FrankieJ29.
And you can find me on Bumble. And I can't think of anything else. I tried to be funny and I couldn't think of it. What's the swiping one called? Why can't I think? Oh, Tinder. You can find me on Bumble and Tinder at Brad Gilmore, or on all other social media at Brad Gilmore. And make sure you check out Heated Conversations every week with me and Booker T and the Brad Gilmore Show. But for Frank Janisch, for Chris Clarke, at Chris Clarke 8788, those numbers, I think they mean something. I'm sorry. Let me do that again. Chris, I'm doing that again.
Keep it.
Keep it? Okay, keep it. I'm keeping it. We're out of here.
Blazino.
Bye.